What will happen to humans if there's no more sunlight on Earth? Trees, grass, flowers, and crops will all die. After that, there will be no food for cows, pigs, chickens, ducks, birds, or other grass-fed animals. Finally, humans will also no longer survive because of a lack of oxygen and food. In the year 2057, the sun is dimming, causing freezing temperatures on Earth. 7 years prior, a mission named Icarus was sent to restart the sun, but the ship mysteriously went missing. Now, the same mission is being attempted by the crew of Icarus II. They're carrying a stellar bomb the size of Manhattan, with the intention of detonating it on the surface of the sun in order to revive the fading star. Icarus II's whole ship is built behind a massive shield that shields it from the sun's rays. 8 astronauts are on board Icarus II, including Kaneda, the captain, Mace, Corazon, Kappa, who invented and runs the stellar bomb, Harvey, Cassie, Trey, and Searle, the psychologist, who's looking at the sun through a window that filters out the sun's light. He asks the ship's AI, named Icarus, to reduce the filter so he can observe more sunlight. Icarus shows him only 3.1% of the sun's full might, and it's already too much for him to bear. At dinner, Kaneda announces that they will enter the dead zone within the next 24 hours, which means that they will lose all communications with Earth. Kaneda advises that if anyone wants to send out final messages to Earth, they should do so now. Kappa enters first and records a message for his family. Corazon, in the meantime, checks in on the ship's greenhouse and reports to Kaneda that they are generating surplus as expected. They will have adequate oxygen for the return journey. Corazon can sense that Kaneda is considering Icarus I, and she claims that they have no idea what caused that mission's failure, but it was most definitely not a shortage of oxygen. A fight breaks out between Kappa and Mace, because Kappa took too long to send his message, and the solar wind has now been picked up, so they can't send out any more messages. Cassie informs the rest of the team that they will see Mercury pass in front of the sun, and everyone gathers excitedly in the observation room to watch. Afterward, Harvey hears a strange signal and gathers everyone. He reveals that it's the distress signal of Icarus I that is reaching them now. They check the location of the signal and realize that the ship is close to the sun, and only a few thousand miles out from their own trajectories. Mace says it's a ridiculous debate because their mission is far too important to abandon just to help a crew that may or may not be alive. Everyone agrees, but Searle points out that their mission is incredibly delicate and has only been tested in theory. They have no idea if it will actually work, but going to the Icarus I will give them a second stellar bomb, meaning they'll have 2 attempts at the mission, which could be worth the detour. Mace believes they should vote on it. Kappa acknowledges with Kaneda that the bomb will not reach the surface. The position of the sun is anyone's guess because there are too many variables to consider, but he admits that there is no material left on Earth for another mission, and they're humanity's last hope, so it would be better if they had 2 chances at this. They agree to go after Icarus I. The next alarm is heard throughout the ship, and Trey reveals that he messed up. He made all the calculations for the new trajectory and turned the ship. Mace discloses that 4 sections of the shield are offline, but they can't be reset from the inside since their computer components have been burned. They must be restored manually. Kaneda says he will attend and will swap volunteers to accompany him. Kaneda begs Trey to remain, but Mace proposes that Kappa go. Kappa and Kaneda put on incredibly thick metallic gold spacesuits and go out to manually check the shield, while Cassie rotates the shield so that the areas they're going to check will be away from the sun. Great noises are heard as the shield rotates, and Mace says that it's just the parts of the shield cooling down, and as a result of expanding and contracting. Kappa and Kaneda arrive on the shield and successfully reset the first damaged sector. The crew rejoices, but one of the ship's spinning towers comes into contact with the sun's rays and reflects the light directly into the ship's greenhouse. Icarus takes command of the ship after detecting a threat to the mission and begins rotating the shield back to its original position to prevent the entire ship from burning up. Cassie triumphs against Icarus, because if the shield rotates, Kappa and Kaneda will be killed by being exposed to the sun. Mace disagrees and argues that if they don't rotate the shield, their entire mission would fail, which is more crucial than the lives of Kappa and Kaneda. Cassie is outraged, but Kaneda supports Mace and says nothing is more important than the mission. Meanwhile, Corazon is distraught over the loss of the greenhouse. There's only one sector of the shield left to reset, and Kaneda tells Kappa to return to the ship while he works on it himself. He manages to close it in time, and everyone watches as Kaneda is engulfed in the full strength of the sun. Trey is presently sedated in the medical bay by Searle. Harvey, the new captain, warns the crew that because the greenhouse has been destroyed, they no longer have enough oxygen to reach the sun, and that traveling to Icarus 1 is their only option. Corazon, Cassie, and Mace discuss how there isn't enough oxygen for all 7 members, but if there were just 4 individuals, there would be enough oxygen to finish the task, which means 3 of them would have to sacrifice themselves. Cassie talks to Kappa and expresses her fear that they will all perish. She admits she's scared and asks Kappa if he's scared as well. Kappa talks passionately about the stellar bomb and says they'll essentially be creating a star within a star. He says it will be beautiful, so he's not scared. They arrive at Icarus 1, detach their shield, and dock with Icarus 1. Mace, Harvey, Kappa, and Searle board the spacecraft and begin investigating it. The team discovers that the stellar bomb is still operational. The greenhouse has been growing the entire time, and there's food and running water on the ship. However, Mace discovers that the ship's flight systems have been disabled for some reason, and he finds a video message in the ship's files from the ship's Captain Pinbacker, who speaks like a religious maniac about how it's humanity's time to die, as determined by God, and their science and hopes are foolish. Searle discovers the bodies of the Icarus 1 crew in the observation room. He assumes they were burned because the filter allowed all of the sunlight inside, but he doesn't know how or why. He claims the filter is probably open, and the only reason there isn't sunlight in the room is because they're behind Icarus 2's shield. Just then, an unexplained event occurs, and Icarus 2 begins to drift away from Icarus 1. The team runs back to the airlock, but Cassie informs them that the airlock has been broken, and they won't be able to dock again. Mace discovers a spacesuit within Icarus 1 and asks Kappa to wear it and return to Icarus 2. Harvey asks why only Kappa is allowed to survive, to which Mace responds that it's because Kappa is the only one who knows how to activate the bomb. Harvey claims that because he's the captain, he should be allowed to live. Mace devises a scheme in which they align the 2 ships so that when they open the hatch, the vacuum will pull them all into Icarus 2. Corazon informs him that the temperature in space is frigid and that even a short trip without suits will kill them. But Mace insists it's the best strategy they have. Searle explains that because there's no computer aboard the Icarus 1, someone must remain behind and manually unlock the door. Searle opens the hatch as Kappa and Mace form a line at the entryway. Harvey strikes the door on his way out, causing his trajectory to be thrown off. He flies out into space, freezes, and dies. Meanwhile, Mace and Kappa make it to the ship. Mace has cold burns on various portions of his body, but he survives. Searle approaches the viewing area of Icarus 1, where the whole intensity of sunlight penetrates when Icarus 2 moves, and he dies as well. Mace, Cassie, Kappa, and Corazon discussed how the airlock was not broken by mistake, but rather by someone breaking it, and they all suspect Trey. Because Trey's a risk, and if he dies, this would free up oxygen for the rest of them to accomplish the job, Kappa, Corazon, and Mace vote in favor, but Cassie votes against it. Cassie is terrified as Mace prepares to murder Trey. Mace obtains a knife and comes to murder Trey, but discovers that he has already committed suicide. Mace holds Kappa responsible for all that has occurred, because it was Kappa's idea to take a detour to Icarus 1. Kappa gets enraged and the 2 battle, but they can't fight for long since there isn't much oxygen aboard the ship, and they run out of air eventually. Icarus claims an unknown person is in the observation room, and when Kappa reaches there, he finds a burnt-up Pinbacker who's still alive, and he rants about Judgment Day like a religious maniac. saying he will be the last person alive to speak to God when Judgment Day arrives. He stabs Kappa in the chest with a knife. Kappa flees, and Pinbacker follows him around the ship. Kappa finds a compartment and shuts himself inside, but Pinbacker locks the container from the outside. Pinbacker goes to the mainframe of the ship and removes it from the coolant, just like he probably did with Icarus 1. The ship begins to power down. Corazon finds a baby plant still alive in the greenhouse and tries to call Mace to tell him the good news, but Pinbacker arrives and stabs her in the back. Mace arrives at the main computer and using a portable battery, he contacts Kappa via a suit in his compartment. Kappa tells Mace about Pinbacker, and Mace understands the mainframe is out of coolant since there's no electricity. To lower the mainframe, Mace must manually enter the coolant, which is freezing. Meanwhile, Cassie awakens in her room and learns there's someone there. She sneaks out, but Pinbacker notices her, and a chase starts. Cassie runs into the bomb chamber. At this moment, Mace is frozen. Kappa wears the suit in his compartment and uses the heating tool in it to break free. He arrives in the control room, manually detaches the shield and the bomb from the rest of the ship, and then rushes to get on it before it gets too far away. He takes an incredible jump from the ship to the bomb, and reaches it in time before the bomb's boosters activate. He enters the bomb chamber and finds Cassie inside, but Pinbacker is also there. After a brief skirmish with him, Kappa and Cassie were able to flee, and when Kappa arrived at the bomb's control panel, he detonated it, and the scene was exactly as magnificent as he thought it would be back on Earth. Kappa's family receives his final message, in which he tells them to watch when the sun shines brighter, because when that happens, they'll know that Kappa has succeeded. The movie ends here. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to our channel if you appreciate content like this. Also, let us know what movie you'd like us to recap for you.